Good morning, everyone. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to another edition of Favorite Album of the Year. Today we have arrived on 1974, so you know the drill by now. I am going to go through all of, or I've actually already done this, gone through all of the releases that came out in 1974, weeded through all of them, and picked out the one that is my absolute favorite. Not the best, not the highest selling one, but my absolute favorite. The one that kind of hits me here the best. The one that's firmly implanted most deeply in the brain and through the ears. Another tough year. You know, 1973 was really tough. I was like, man, this is probably going to be the hardest one yet. And then I get to 74. As always, it comes down to a handful of releases. And I think we can all agree, if you actually go and look at the list of all the albums that came out in this year across all genres, a lot of the usual suspects, a lot of them that are releasing not one but two albums in a calendar year that are all great. And I think we can safely say a lot of these bands that are putting out albums in this time period are releasing almost like definitive albums. So it's hard to choose. But again, I keep coming back, as I have for the last couple of days, I keep coming back and struggling with this whole, well, all right, I've got a release by a band that is clearly one of my favorite bands. Though that album might not be like my top favorite or even second favorite, but I love it quite a bit. And then you have these other bands that maybe you still really like a lot. They're not quite upper echelon for you, but you love them, you like them a lot, that are putting out what could be definitive albums in their careers, or your personal favorite of that band, even though the band might not be a top three band for you, but that album certainly is your favorite from that band. So I struggled. A lot of great rock and hard rock and prog bands and jazz, all sorts of great stuff coming out, some great folk stuff, pop, all sorts of killer stuff. And I came down to four. I always seem to kind of whittle it down to four. Again, here, it's one of my favorite bands with an album that I clearly love. Might not be my absolute favorite from the band. And the other band, my top two I'm talking about, and the other band, it's not a top 3 or 5 band for me, but I do love them a lot. They're up there, but they're not quite that up there. But this is clearly my favorite album by them. And then on the periphery, a classic album, what many might consider his best album, from a guitar player that I love a lot. It's fantastic. And then another release by a art rock band, and that's clearly my favorite album by them. It's a landmark release. It's absolutely legendary. But is it my favorite of all these ones that I'm looking at? So this is how we work it here. So I have to choose one. Not the best, not the biggest selling, not the highest charting, my favorite. And I ask everybody to do the same. And I've been watching the comments every day, seeing everybody struggle just as much as me, saying, my God, this is so hard. And so many of you I can't pick one and give me 5 or 10. And that's cool. I'm trying to make this hard on myself because I think it's fun to really, really hone in on just one. And then the runner-up. And in many cases, I may give you a couple of the fringe ones, just for shits and giggles. But so how I did this one yesterday, because I clearly had the two front runners. And I'm like, man, how do I decide this? Do I go with the tried and true, trusted old standby, or do I go with the one that my gut is telling me, you know what, that is a better album, in my opinion. And it's clearly stronger in terms of songs that I love, top to bottom. I think it might be my favorite over the tried and true. That's what it came down to. So I decided, after dinner last night, it's kind of nice weather here, I decided to go on a nice long walk, try to get out, get some exercise, and had the iPod, and I played both of them back to back. Even though I know them both really, really well. Really well. But I was like, you know what, I want a real fresh perspective before I go on the air tomorrow morning and actually pick one of them. So first I listened to the one that my gut was telling me I kind of prefer over the other one. And I listened to it top to bottom, and I was like, man, that's just as great as I always remember it. And top to bottom, really not a weak track on it. So then I listened to the old favorite, the warm and fuzzy, the tried and true, the old standby. And I was like, you know what? Probably 3 songs on there, maybe 4, that are impossible to beat. The rest of it, solid, making the whole album overall, for me anyway, not quite as strong. And I think if I listen to them back to back, there's a couple tunes on the one that I may from time to time skip over to get to the ones that I really love. And I'll say the ones that I really love probably like more than any on the other album. Not by much. But the other one, who's going to get my nod here today, is just, it's got a handful of absolute drop-dead classics from this band. The production is stellar. The atmosphere and the vibe is just incredible. The power of it, the songwriting, the playing. Secret Treaties by Blue Oyster Cult. Kudos to a couple of you who called it. I think I saw 3 comments in yesterday's video of people who were like, Pete's going to go with Blue Oyster Cult tomorrow. And I think 1 or 2 of you called that it was going to win over my runner-up, Burn by Deep Purple. So you guys are getting to know me pretty well. By the way, the 2 fringe ones I was talking about was Robin Trower, Bridge of Sighs, and Supertramp, Crime of the Century. And, you know, that's Supertramp. And I, you know, that Supertramp had me constantly hinting and wondering if I should supplant the Burn album for that. But, you know, the Burn album I've got such history with. And, you know, before I get into talking about this killer album, I do want to say, you know, the title track, Burn, is one of my all-time favorite songs. Mistreated, another all-time favorite. All right. You Fool No One, another all-time favorite. And while I really like, you know, Might Just Take Your Life, Lay Down, Stay Down, Sail Away is killer. You know, What's Going On Here, A200, you know, there ain't no on this album. There ain't no on this album. And again, you gotta love when, there's only 8 songs on here. That's all it needs. Every one of them is absolute perfection, prime Blue Oyster Cult. Career of Evil. I'm making a career of evil. Hard rock meets psychedelia. Doesn't get much better than this. Subhuman. Perhaps my favorite Blue Oyster Cult song of all time. Love the creepy atmospheric vibe of it. It's heavy. Dominance. Submission. ME262, another favorite song of mine from Blue Oyster Cult. Just love the arrangement on that. It's so witty. It's just great Buck Dharma guitar riffing on that. Cagey Cretins. That's the one song in this album that I was, you know, growing up and stuff, I was always kind of like, you know, it's okay. I really like Cagey Cretins now. It's kind of silly, but it's like it's still a really good rocker, and I dig it a lot. Harvester of Eyes. Killer. Flaming Telepaths, and of course, it doesn't get much better than the closer, the epic Astronomy. I mean, come on. The more I thought about it, the more I listened to it, I was like, man, I can't pick anything but this. Can't pick anything but this. You know? And as much as I love King Crimson Red, and I do, and, you know, Jethro Tull, and all the other bands that came out with albums in this year, and some great ones. It kept coming back to this. Kept coming back. It's absolutely perfect. It's absolutely perfect. As much as I love Burn, man, I love that title track. I love 3 other songs on there. Top to bottom, you can't beat this. You just can't beat it. So I know there's going to be a lot of other choices out there in the comments, and bring them on, man. Bring them on. So happy to see them, and let's get talking about what a great year 1974 was, and 1975 is coming up tomorrow. That's going to be no different, right? A lot of great stuff. You know, now we're coming in to the part of the decade where live albums are popping up all over the place, and some great ones. So and the emergence of what we would now call as heavy metal. You know, Judas Priest is right around the corner. Okay, still got some stellar things from Black Sabbath coming out. You got Zeppelin doing all sorts of killer releases. Okay, there's a lot of good stuff to come. I'm afraid. I'm really afraid. Scorpions, the Uli John Roth era is right around the corner too. All right, it's like agonizing stuff. Agonizing stuff. I'm telling you. Visit us on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter. Of course, we're on YouTube all the damn time. Coming up momentarily, part 2 of a look at Pete's rock concert band, whatever you want to call them, t-shirt collection. That's a multi-parter. This is part 2 of probably will be either 3 or 4. Could be 4. And my guess is going to be 4 because I got a lot I haven't shown yet. Quite a lot. So that's all coming up. All right, so you don't want to miss that. I'll be kind of one a day for the next couple days there. So enjoy those. Also, ranking the studio albums. I'm not sure which one's going to be next. Have to figure that out. I've got a long list. So I have such a list to pick from. It's just absolutely insane. So a lot of the ones you've been asking for, we're going to hopefully get to sooner rather than later. Coming up this weekend. Got more metal discussion, heavy metal discussion with Steve Keeler and Brian Slagle and another special guest. Saturday, we're going to be talking about, we're going to rank the albums of thrash metal titans Exodus. That's also coming up this weekend, so you don't want to miss that. All right, guys? So we'll see you real soon. Take care. Oh, how about my favorite keyboard players of all time? That's either going to be today or tomorrow. So working on that as we speak. So as soon as I fine-tune that, we'll get it to you. All right? And then hopefully next week, my favorite vocalist of all time. So stay tuned for all that stuff. Make sure you subscribe. Click on that subscribe button. Tell your friends. And we'll see you later. Take care. Bye-bye.